Hello and welcome to Planet NOLA. My name is Mary Jacobs. This is the podcast where I talk to people living in or from New Orleans that I think are cool or just doing cool things. Today I have a very special guest with me. It's my old pal, Levy Easterly. Levy is an accomplished artist and actor. I know him from the film world. We've known each other since about 2017, and he's just a really fun person. Whenever I hang out with Levy, I'm like, man, Levy, you should really know more people because you're one of the most fun people I know. And I just feel like you walk into a room and you make that room more fun. So.
You're a great catch, Mary.
Aww. Oh, God. Okay. We're going right out the gate. We'll save that one. We'll save that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I know Levy I worked on a film in 2017 called Wendy, which you should go look up and watch. It's a great film. And the director, Ben Zeitlin, has used Levy in a few of his films. And Levy was working on that film, came out to the Caribbean islands. That's where I met you. I worked as your acting coach. So
I'm a veteran Court 13 non-actor.
You are. Yes, definitely. So yeah, that's how we know each other.
Yes.
And you've been in New Orleans for a long time.
Yes, since 98. I've actually been coming here since I was 17. So if you include those numbers.
You said you came here on a school trip, right?
In the 5th grade, yeah. Even further now, 40-something years.
It was a school trip to New Orleans?
Yeah, in 5th grade, we did a field trip to New Orleans. We did the Potaba and the church. And it was
Where'd
around
you grow
the
up?
French Quarter. In East Feliciana Parish on
Okay,
a
so
hay
it was like
farm.
a day trip. You didn't do like an overnight
No.
thing.
That would have been too much for those 5th graders to get their parents to sign.
I know, so I was like, what a strange trip. But I guess that makes sense. If you're outside the Orleans area, it's like a thing to go to the quarter.
Oh, absolutely. I was just magically enthralled. The first thing I saw, we walked into like a novelty shop and I bought they were $10. It was one of those Afro clown wigs with the rainbow stripes.
Oh my gosh. 5th grade you was
I
the
gotta
same
have
as
it.
you now.
Gotta have it. It was $10. And I said, yeah, it's mine.
And to this day, you still wear that clown wig on any occasion.
Yeah, well, I rode it home on the bus all the way back to home. And
did you know when you were in 5th grade, you were like, I'm going to move to New Orleans?
Well, yeah, I kind of did, but I wasn't, back then I was like California or New York because I really didn't want to act, and that never happened.
So where'd you go?
I went to
when I left.
Yeah, when I left. Well, I went to college at Southeastern and studied theater and didn't graduate. But after that, I made a living as a fine dining waiter and 10 years, and I moved back here. And I went to West Palm Beach and worked the season down there. Didn't like it. Moved back here.
So you were just traveling, like serving?
Yeah, well, I moved back
acting.
I was living in Baton Rouge, which
I have a good friend that lives in Baton Rouge right now, and that is rough. God bless him. I don't know how people do it. It's rough.
I found that most states' capitals are very conservative and not a place to be. The only thing it has going for it, I guess, would be LSU.
Well, I feel like that's why most people wind up there in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Work or school. So you moved to New Orleans in '98, and you've been here since?
Yes.
And you lived in the quarter for a long time.
Yeah. When I moved back, I was 38, 39, and I moved back in with my parents, which was, what a hard thing from leaving at 18 and moving back with them. And so I was like, got to move. And it was the first time I said, okay, I think you're old enough now to move to New Orleans. Because in my 20s, I would see people that would move there, friends of mine, and see them like maybe 2 months later, and they didn't even look the same. They were like, the cities would chew you up and spit you out if you're not careful. And I had too much of an addictive personality to move here in my 20s. I was scared to death that I would just not survive it.
Yeah.
So by the time I was 40, I was like, okay, you can handle it. Little did I know.
You've handled it just well.
I'm handling it. Yeah.
So you've been here since '98. What would you say has been like, what's been the tie that binds? Like, what keeps you here, Like, it feels like you've lived a lot of places.
The creativity of anything, all is art. I don't know, you put something out there that's creative, like my artwork was the first thing. I'm going to start painting and selling my artwork, and picked up a piece of slate, of course. Painted a face on it, real bright colors, and the skin was fluorescent, and called them carnival faces, and I hit a niche, and it just started progressing.
Where were you selling?
Well, my first show was at the Pizza Kitchen, Louisiana Pizza Kitchen.
Nice, the one on Barracks?
Yeah, it was. It's they gave you 6 weeks
to hang your stuff,
and the slates can only get so big, so I had 40 pieces to fill the place.
Whoa.
And in 6 weeks I sold 10 of them. So
all
I
right.
said, well, I hit a niche, but now I've got 30 pieces of slate. I'm going to have to move out of here, and what am I going to do with it? And it just, the day my show was over, John and Jan, owners of the Artist Market, came by. They had just opened up and said, hey, why don't you come and get a booth over here? I got one. It faced the French Market.
Yeah.
And I had a little booth and made $10,000 that year.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yes.
That's the collective that's on Decatur, or was on Decatur.
Yeah, a little co-op.
Yeah, it's not there anymore though, huh?
They closed last year.
Yeah, I remember. I was there forever. There's a few places like that in the city. So if you're from here or not from here, you should know that there's like little artist co-ops. There's a few different ones. There's Zella Magazine. There's the one in Canal Place, his name escaping me. It has the word elephant or buffalo or something in it. White Rhino or something like that.
Yeah, Rhino.
Rhino. Mm-hmm. There's a few others.
Yeah, there's a friend of mine, when we stopped, they decided to change the whole thing, and I lost my booth and was going to have to pay more, and I just got kind of fed up. And so my friend that was working there with me too as an artist decided to get in touch with the French Quarter Corporation and reopen a little co-op called Dutch Alley.
Oh, Dutch Alley.
They call it D Alley for short. And so there was another artist co-op there for a while. I don't know if it's still there, but worked in there. And then a few. And then I ended up getting a license to a permit or whatever
to sell in Jackson.
Yeah, except I chose Pirates Alley instead.
Oh, nice.
I was right across from Rodrigue, and I always had this thing about, being bigger than Rodrigue.
In my eyes.
The first magazine, there's a magazine that they put in hotels called Wear Magazine, and the editor had seen my stuff at the Artist Market, and he did a little interview. I had my first publication on my artwork in Wear Magazine. When you folded the magazine shut, my article landed right on top of a Rodrigue hat. I was like, yeah, it's a sign. And then when I ended up setting up across the street, people would come out of there and come over and buy my stuff.
Oh my God, Rodrigue is so cheesy, man. Like, if he was still he's dead now, but I wish he would have just done the people thing forever. The dog thing got so big, and I now see the dog and I get like annoyed. I'm like, why does it bother me so much?
I used to listen to Tony Robbins a little bit, so I went across the street and met him and made a point.
Tony Robbins, like the personal person that, what's he called? Self-help guru?
Yeah. So his thing was, if you want to be rich, you hang out with rich people, or you want to do this, you do it with this people. So I went and met him, told him I was going to be bigger than him. I gave him, I said, what your advice would you give me? And he said, stop painting on slate. You can't really make prints. You're going to have to make canvas so you can make prints. I was like, I can do G-clay. I gave him a set of coasters. And he's like, Rodrigue now has my stuff. We actually have a Rodrigue that Lakin had before I met him. And they've only made 14 of these prints, and it's one of the blue dogs sitting on one of the above ground graves.
Cool.
So
I have a friend from childhood who I lived with after Katrina, whose family collects Rodrigues, and they had a personal relationship with him, and they had a house full of them, to the point where they had like a huge wall that was a family portrait that he had painted under an oak tree. And it was when my friend was like an infant. It's huge. It's a
poco. See, I actually met him before Blue Dog. I was working at the Camelot Club, which is a CCA managed city club in Baton Rouge, above the L&B building. And he had a show up there, and it was all the oak trees with the families.
That was like what he used
tables.
to do.
Yeah,
it's very
nice
like
folk art.
Very white supremacy looking. Like
it kind of is.
It's all white people wearing
Let's have
white.
A jamboree, Old South jamboree. That's I found out recently. I think that's what those things were.
It's just like a big KKK
A
party.
big meeting, yeah. I was like, God, please spare me.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, because the paintings are literally white people in white clothes under oak trees in front of plantations. They definitely have some sort of old Southern thing going that's haunted as hell.
Yeah. I tried to keep it on the folk Cajun kind of thing, but yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, what kind of stuff do you paint? I don't think I've ever seen any of your art, like any of your physical art. Obviously, I've seen you perform.
I call it folk art, but if you consider roofing slate indigenous to the New Orleans area, but it's a lot of it is. I collected slate when they redid the church for Katrina. I got it from
Which church?
Biggest the cathedral, yeah, St. Louis, and I got it from the hall on St. Charles. What's
the hall in St. Charles?
Lord, I can't think of it now.
That's all right.
But yeah, they had really big pieces. I ended up doing a series of gestures on that. But it's fun. They're animated, colorful faces, and they're either grinning or laughing out loud or smiling. You know, they're very positive. I've had people tell me that first year, I guess 75% of my stuff went to tourists, and I had some local clients and repeat stuff, and they tell me that they hang their stuff in the bathroom. It's the first thing they see in the morning, and it brightens their day.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah,
that's so nice.
It is rewarding
so nice.
Be a service to
that's
people's
what I was saying
happiness.
A second ago, is if you come to New Orleans and you want to support artists, there are tons of local art co-ops. That's what we were talking about. And there's also like the art garden on Frenchman Street where you can meet the artists. They're there at night. And it's just these spaces where they have tons of different artists in there. And people do come to New Orleans and buy art. I sold art for years on Frenchman Street. That was what I did.
And I'm not a great salesman of my stuff, but
that's why people get salespeople like
me.
Me.
I still, well, I don't know. You still sell more art as the artist
yes.
and doing your art in front of the people.
I think that's true to a degree. So I sold for other artists for a long time, and my whole thing was, if you are someone who does not like people, which a lot of artists don't, you're not like this.
No.
A lot of artists just don't like people. They like their art, they like what they make, and they don't want to deal with someone not wanting to pay the price or somebody asking them questions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those people that don't have that people person thing, they shouldn't sell their art. And so people like me who are good salespeople, what I would do is I would come in there and I would try to look as if I were the artist, and I would carry. I'd be able to describe it and like love it as much as the artist would.
Yeah, that's my mother told me. I've got great work ethics. My dad and my mom both gave me. My dad hard labor, and my mom just that she said, if you work for somebody and you work for their store, just act like it's your store.
Exactly.
And that way,
That's what I did. I had one friend that I worked for years, and her whole thing was like, tell them you're me. Just tell them you're me.
Yeah.
And for years I did that. I would just tell people.
Sure. And my big stick now is like I'm working on the house, and I have people come up to me on the street like, yeah, you got any extra work? I'm like, no, I'm poor too. I'm house rich and money poor. So that's why I'm doing the work myself.
Yeah.
Because, and plus, why pay somebody to do something that you can do better yourself?
Right, totally.
Because they don't give a shit. Here, I painted that.
Yeah, Levy lives is it technically the Treme?
It's across St. Bernard is the Treme.
Okay.
We're in the South 7th Ward.
South 7th Ward. I just think everything's the Treme because I don't know where it starts and ends, which is ridiculous. But you're
it's
on
6
the
blocks.
other side.
Yeah, 6 blocks from the French Quarter.
Yeah,
the
you're
corner
so
Esplanade
close, and
North
it's a bright, really pretty double shotgun, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your advice to someone who is moving to New Orleans for the first time? They're moving here from somewhere else. You had experience with New Orleans before you came. Like I think you knew what to expect.
I think most people either have had an experience and that's one of the reasons they move here, because it's very open. When I first started coming, really hanging out in New Orleans was when I was in college at Southeastern. We were like a half hour away, and on the weekends we'd come and party. I had friends from LaPlace that I went to school with, and we'd hang out there. And
what years was this? When
this
you were in
is
college?
1980, 81.
What was New Orleans like in the 80s?
Well, let me tell you. We came down one weekend. I don't know. It was like right at the first of school year, so it was like in August or September. And we came and they took me to, I think it was Zephyr Field. And there was a game being played between the queers and the police. I swear to
You're
God.
making this up.
I'm not making this up. I swear. It was so, I was like, wow, this is so cool. And then when you go out at the bars and stuff on the weekend.
Wait. What team were the queer police playing on?
I don't know. Yeah. See, that's the thing. They ended up being cheerleaders. They had some cheerleaders. It was so funny.
The queer police were like, wait a second, I have to pick.
Yeah. It was funny because, like on the weekends, there was always a cop car stationed at the queer bars, right there on Bourbon Street. There was no problem, and got along great with the police.
Did you feel like they were stationed there to keep the queers safe or keep like other people, quote unquote?
No, I think they were there for the queers to be safe.
Yeah, that's what's up.
And never had any trouble with them until we came down here one weekend and there were no cops, and I got my ass kicked.
No.
Yeah, I had my first experience with
jumped.
Gay Bash. It was I was hanging out outside the bar. We were about to leave and go back to campus in Hammond, and I was hanging out front of Lafitte's in Exile, and it was pretty tipsy. And all of a sudden, like 5 of these hippie dudes come out of the bar, swing the door open. I heard one of them say, "Oh man, it's a fag bar," and I was like, "Yep, that's right." And I forgot all about it. And the next thing, I'm turning around, and the smallest one, of course, out of the bunch, turns out, "Did you say that? Did you say that?" And he came right up to me, and I didn't answer him, and he just started wailing on me. All his guys are standing behind him, so I wasn't gonna fight back. I just was in shock. I couldn't believe it was fucking happening.
Yeah.
Hit me feeling like, I guess he realized he wasn't going to knock me down, and so they just left. I watched him walk away, and I was sitting there with a bloody, face and nose and a couple of knots on my head.
Yeah.
And I cried all the way back to Hammond.
That's awful.
It's just, it was
Those people were definitely tourists.
Yeah.
Do you think they were tourists? Do you think they were from here? Not that it matters, but that gives me some solace if they're tourists, because fuck that.
Yeah. There's nobody in New Orleans that would do that.
Not a single one. Well, it feels like, come on now. It was the 80s?
Yeah, early 80s, yeah.
Damn. Did you feel like there was a lot of that in New Orleans?
I don't know. I really don't. I don't think so.
I hope not, but obviously history is
what it is. Well, because it's the only other thing I can imagine. Well, the upstairs lounge.
Well, that was in the 70s.
Yeah, and that was a queen.
Yeah.
That did that to
I
the
know,
other queen. So
I know,
that
right?
was a horrible thing.
We're not going to talk about that here, but the upstairs lounge is something that is part of queer history, and if you don't know about it, you need to do your research, especially if you live here and you're queer. But even if you're not queer, I think everyone needs to know the history of it in this city, and you should. So you've gotten to be queer here for a long time, or coming back and forth. What's the scene like as a queer woman? Like, I would love to be. Obviously, there's no lesbian bars left, so I would love to be able to look back and see what it was like when there was
when I moved back here in '98, there was still Ruby Fruit Jungle,
right?
And they were always getting in trouble.
Yeah.
And I figured, I guess most.
What do you mean always get in trouble? Like how?
Oh, they were in the Marigny, and they would have complaints about noise levels and that kind of stuff. It's just bullshit.
Unnecessary.
Really.
Oh, you mean the stuff that's still happening to the point where the Marigny can't get friggin' bars with music anymore?
Why are you moving here and having trouble with noise
ordinances?
Ordinance. Yeah, this is so bullshit.
Yeah, I think about one of the ones that changed in my
especially
lifetime,
around Frenchman Street. It's
it's like that's literally
that's
the music
why
area.
You would want to move here.
Mimi's used to have live music. It's now Anna's. I remember they used to have they had some really fun live music because they would do weird stuff that other bars weren't weren't doing, and then they're one of the ones that got rezoned, and then they can't have live music anymore. And that was like happening while I was living here, and I was just like, yeah, this is so foolish. And those houses in that area now are $1 million houses for whatever reason. It's cuckoo bananas. Like,
it is.
You move to the city where like live music is like what people move here for,
right?
And you don't want it in your neighborhood.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Where it's already been for a while.
And now that I'm in the 7th ward, I've heard a couple of complaints about the party buses. I was like, are you kidding me? I love my neighbor Sheila had her birthday a few years ago, and she rented one and invited me to go. I was the only white male ever on a fucking party bus, and they were twerking out the windows.
Really
I had my
now.
Video camera going. We got some good.
There's so many freaking party buses now.
Yeah.
Last night, a party bus. I was working at a show at the Always, and a party bus drove by, and it was all white people on it. And usually, a party bus goes by, and it's like bump bump, like asses out the window.
Yeah.
Like, this was the saddest party bus.
Oh, that's too
bad. And I was. No music was coming out. Everyone was just like standing, like looking out of the windows. Like you could see like a guy with glasses, like holding a drink, like looking at me. And I was like, "You're on a party bus. Like you guys should be like raging." The sun was still up when it passed. I was like, "Okay,
my goodness.
You guys clearly made a mistake, and that's on you. You thought you were party bus people, and you're clearly not party bus people." But so people come. They just drive by. They pass by and that's it. How can you complain about that?
I did my first musical at the Always.
Really?
I did.
I love the Always. It's like the best. It's like one of the best indie theater spots in the whole city, if not the only real one.
The guys that did Three Penny Opera, German, right? Weiss.
Is that the show?
I always get their names fucked up.
I've done a lot of shows there too.
It was Happy End was the name of it, and I played Bill Crocker, gangster.
It was a play, or was it?
It's a musical play. Yeah, it was great. I enjoyed it so much, and then found out that the guy who owns the bar was friends with Coleman from Court 13.
Oh, cool!
Yeah.
And is that how you got in contact with those guys?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Court 13 is the production company that did Beasts of the Southern Wild and Wendy, the film that I worked on and met you at. And you also worked on Ben's first little short film.
Yeah,
what was it called?
Glory at Sea.
Glory at Sea, yeah. So you've got a long history with that production company.
Yeah, it's great. We've even gone so far as to tell Ben that they've got the porno out for it. It's called Glory Hole at Sea.
The parody version. Levy, we have to take a break.
Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
We'll be right back. This week's episode of Planet NOLA is brought to you by Vitality Community Fitness, a group training facility located in Metairie, Louisiana. Vitality prioritizes their members with accessible workouts for anybody. Any gender, any size, any ability. I'm a little biased because I do co-own this business, and I gotta say we've got one of the best communities around, really great coaches, really good vibes. So if you're interested in trying out our gym, go to our website, vitalitycommunityfitness.com, click the contact form, and you get 3 free classes in a week. So come check us out. Hello and welcome back to Planet NOLA. I'm talking to my friend Levy Easterly. We've been talking about queerness in the city of New Orleans through history, or at least Levy's history here. Talked about his art. We've talked about a lot of things. George Rodrigue. If you're not watching on YouTube, you're just listening to the podcast, you should go peep our social media or go watch the YouTube video because Levy is looking fresh to death today. Very colorful. You've just got to go look at his outfit. I cannot even describe it. It is something you have to see with your own 2 eyes. I look pretty cute too, so go check us out on YouTube. So I was about to get into how I met you, which is on Wendy. The feature film Wendy, which was directed by Ben Zeitlin, came out in like 2019. Oh, we came out in 2020 actually, right before the pandemic.
2 weeks.
Awful release for us.
2 weeks before quarantine.
Yeah, so which is why I encourage people to go watch it because it definitely didn't get its justice because of the lockdowns. It did have a theatrical release, but man, did that mess us up. But so Levy was the film filmed in the Caribbean on a few islands, and Levy was playing the older version of one of our stars. That was a kid, and I don't want to give away too much about the plot, but you basically were like the middle-aged version of the kid, and you had a very like the character's very like rough, and you had to
my only line in the script, or it wasn't a line. It described the character. He was a strange and haunted man.
Yes, yeah.
And I felt so strange and haunted. I swear, and it was just a cameo. But it was.
But how long did you get to go?
It was the cameo to be.
Yeah, and how long did you go to the Caribbean for that cameo?
I got to stay 1 week for the dress rehearsals and wardrobe and makeup. Flew me back home for some reason for a week, and then flew me back there for another week to do the shoot.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
So you got 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You did the Antigua shoot, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which I was kind of disappointed about, because I remember before this all started, Ben wrote me an email and says, "Can't wait till we're together in Montserrat."
Right. So we filmed on a few islands,
and I looked up Montserrat real quick and saw the volcano.
Yeah,
like,
Montserrat.
What?
Yeah.
And then when I got there, it's like, oh, we're shooting in Antigua now.
Lie.
Everybody was just flying back home
from Montserrat. Yeah. So we mostly shot in Montserrat, and then we shot the second most in Antigua, and then we shot just a few days in Barbuda. And Barbuda only had, or Barbuda, they only had like 3 days there, and the island didn't have the capacity to host the crew. So half the crew went to Barbuda, the other half stayed in Antigua.
Yeah.
Like we were like staying in the houses of the people that lived on the island. Like there's not even hotels there. Like it was, there's more donkeys than people, and more horses than people on that island, and that was really wild filming there. We filmed in the mangroves, and they were just like. The mangroves are covered in these giant birds. The name of the bird is escaping me now. But it sounds beautiful and it looks beautiful on video, but they shit in the water, and that's like what the fish eat. And it's like a bog. So we're like walking through a bog. And in the bog are thousands and thousands of jellyfish.
Oh, no.
They're the kind that don't sting, but they sting. They sting in this like kind of like annoying mosquito bite way. And so it was the most disgusting part of the shoot. So really, Antigua, you could be happy that your stuff wasn't in Barbuda, because that was brutal.
You know, I did do this whole spiel about, you really should let me go to Montserrat, because I was that age at 10 years old and got to experience it is my character. So I think you
were like trying to do background character work to get there, you mean?
Yeah. Method acting shit. And I was like, and you know what? After my shoot, instead of flying back, I booked my flight 2 days later, and Nathan paid for me to go to Montserrat for 2 days.
That's so nice.
And I got in touch with the guy who's y'all's guy.
Mapai.
Yeah,
you guys probably vibed, huh?
And he didn't take me on the guide, though. The guy that owned the bar there.
Oh, yeah. Maiga?
Yeah, he took me on the tours. Showed me the volcano, the areas, and the hotel, and got me the
those are
local,
my guys.
the local.
Those are my guys.
Brew. He gave me a whole gallon of it.
Oh my!
And
you're blessed.
You know what I did? I drank a shitload of it, but I brought it back in little separate bottles. I poured
in the travel size.
I went to a local store and got these different brands of the not homemade stuff, and I poured it out. I put the homemade stuff in it and brought it back with me. And when we did the little screening at some point, where were we?
I don't know.
I gave Nathan and Ben and somebody else, one of the producers. I think it was Michael. Gave them all a bottle of
nice.
They're like, what?
That's what's up. Yeah, I'm very nostalgic for all of the things you're speaking about. Mapai was my man for the months that we were in Montserrat. Yeah. I'm sure he was everybody's man, honestly. He got around Mapai, but that movie wouldn't have happened without Mapai. Like he saved that whole movie. Like just really like got us around that island and helped us find the most beautiful spots, and just like he knew everyone on the island. Everyone on the island knows him, So so we got to go to Sundance because of Wendy.
Yes.
Which is one of my more treasured experiences.
Oh, yeah. No, I must admit, Beast was the
I know, yeah.
experience at Sundance. Kind of in awe and jaw dropped when the audience stood up and gave us a standing ovation at the end of the movie. And
yeah, Beast was huge. If you don't know about Beast was huge. We so you got to do Beast and you got to go to Sundance for Beast, and I heard that was like an insane experience. But when we went to Sundance, it was kind of funny because it spins like not technically a sophomore film, but sophomore film, and so it's not as big of a deal when that drops.
No, because you're big when it was your first one. That
everyone's
just kind of
blown
makes
away.
Yeah, and
now we have money.
Like, no, we're not going to give him that again.
Yeah, it's not as impressive. Like he had Fox behind him this time. Anyway, so we were just kind of like there, and everyone else that was there for the most part were like film people. And we are like, I'm not a film person. I just happened to work in film briefly. And we would just be at social events for Sundance being like, good God, everyone here's networking. Like,
yeah. I walked by and some locals are hanging outside the back door of one of the restaurants. He's like, yeah, it's a real shit show here today.
It was so boring. There was one point we went to a bar, it was after a screening, and like everyone there was like, oh, Beth, have you met Joseph? Joseph is a line producer for da-da-da. Beth actually works in cast. I'm like, if I have to listen to one more introduction, like my brain
Yeah, we really should get together and do lunch sometime.
Oh, you worked on da-da-da with da-da-da. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I get why they needed that, but we were just sitting at the bar, like doing shots, like, and this is the day.
Catching dentures.
Do you want to tell the story?
Sure. The bar is packed, and I see Missy standing at the sitting at the bar.
I was sitting.
I was like, well, let me go talk with her, and because I couldn't walk.
We were distinctly making fun of everyone. Also, I remember. I was like, everyone here is just working.
And as we were talking about them, I made the mistake of my dentures fell out, and Mary caught them in her hand, and we were just like, oh my God! I grabbed them real quick and stuck them back in my mouth. We were nobody else saw. We were just
the funniest part was that we were shit talking. Like we were making jokes about everyone else. And you had said something funny, and you laughed at your own joke. And your dentures flew out, and I have not played a sport in my life. My reflexes are not good, but something about, I caught those teeth just right here, and we both kind of froze, too. We were like, but it was so
oh God, I hope nobody saw that.
Fun. Well, then we told everyone.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Today I'm wearing Fix-A-Dent.
Good, they're in there.
Didn't want to do it on video.
I saw Levy on Mardi Gras, and we were hanging over a balcony, and they were not Fix-A-Dented, and I was like, Levy,
be careful, son.
You are too close to the edge of this balcony. We got a whole floor to fall onto that street down there. You're gonna lose some teeth today.
Yes.
When you lived in the quarter, where'd you live?
I lived at the corner of, it was 1300 Charters. It was corner of Charters and Barracks, right across from the Levy Easterly Hotel. There was a little shotgun house there.
The which hotel?
Levy Easterly.
That's
where Paul McCartney stayed. And that's where Hoda Kotb lived when she lived here.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Boy, am I showing my age.
Well, we already established that you were in college in the 80s, so you're
I lived there for 15 years, and this past year during COVID, or last year when they had Mardi Gras, there were no parades, so there was an idea, hey, we're going to do house floats. Nobody's ever done that before. And I'm thinking to myself, yes, they have. It was me. It started in 2009. I've done them ever since for Mardi Gras and Christmas and Halloween. So, and I had a different theme every year.
Which is exactly what the House Floats crew does now, is they pick a theme. And
it was a shotgun house. It couldn't help but make it into a float. That's what I was thinking.
Well,
I just never called them a house float.
Right.
Even when I did a GoFundMe page, it was like, turn my house into a Mardi Gras float.
Yeah.
You use those two words, but
well, listen, it's no surprise that you set a trend, Levy. You're a trendsetter.
Yay!
Yeah. Do you still decorate your house for Mardi Gras?
I haven't since I moved. I did tell people that the house that we lived in was such a little charm of the French Quarter, and I tell people we were the last of the Bohemians to move out of the quarter. And after we moved out, of course, Nola had things to do for Mardi Gras when you're in New Orleans, and this is in 2018 after we'd already moved out. So they had a picture of my house the last year I did in my house. I just covered it in beads because every year I would cover my lamppost that was on the corner there in beads. I would just cover it, really cover it.
Right.
And so I think, let's see. It was the first time I had thought to do my house ahead of time. I usually wait till the last minute and come up with an idea and then do it. Usually for the best. But that year I was like, well, since I cover let's just cover the whole house in beads. And I'm glad I thought about it early, because after everybody started turning their beads in to get recycled, I had a whole truckload of beads, and it literally covered the whole house. And there was a picture in NOLA of it, things to do. And there was my house with the beads on it. But they all went there and were disappointed, I must say, because the house had been completely, well, it was there, but there was nobody living. All the shutters were closed on it. And
but what do you mean when you
somebody sent me a picture of it, and they drew a sad face on the house. So that's okay. I took the magic with me. And I did get my house done by the house float people last year, because I was the original house float. So they did the house for me. They had put everybody else in a lotto, and everybody just drew whose house they were going to do.
Cool.
Except for mine. And but the stipulation was that I had to find 5 other houses in the 7th Ward to get the permission of the owners and for them to do their house. And they had 5 iconic people of the 7th Ward, either Indians or some community leader, and to do a picture of them and
that's what's up.
A memorial house for them. Yeah, it was really nice. The man who lived in the house before me, and actually the owners of the house, there were the Matassa family, and baby Matassa raised his family there in that little shotgun house. And baby Matassa was second cousin to Cosimo, who was a musician. He helped him run the studio. Everybody from Jerry Lee Lewis to Little Richard sang in.
Cool.
Yeah, it was right there on North Rampart.
Yeah, I had no idea about that.
Yeah, they turned it into a washteria, and they still have the gold records and everything in there, and something about all the artists that were recorded there.
Is it the same Cosmos of the bar, Cosmos?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's who the bar's named after. So there's always been an artist that lived in that house, whether it be the musician. Then the person before me lived there for 18 years, paid $300 a month in rent.
So that specifically that house has been artist after artist after artist. Yeah. And now it's not.
Now it looks like it's straight out of a Home Depot or a Lowe's magazine.
Yeah. Levy, you were talking earlier about making art in the city and like what your general advice is to folks that want to create things here.
Yeah, that would be a good reason for you to move here if you have any artistic talent, whether it be singing, music, dance, graphic art, visual arts, anything like this, and you want to do something with it, acting, anything. Just come on, move here. We love creative people, and it just has a way of if you put one step forward and want to do something, the city, it just seems to magically know, and it just starts manifesting, and it grows, and like before you know it, you're successful at what you wanted to do, and it's creatively, and that's why I live here. It's such a great, magical city that lets you become who you want to be.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's your general advice. Just put one foot in front of the other?
That's it. Just
make the thing.
Yeah, make a start of it and watch it manifest.
That's the way I roll. If I've ever wanted to do something, I just do it. Like we were talking about like auditioning for stuff a second ago, and I'm just like, I always hated auditioning, so I was just like, I'm just going to make my own theater. I'm just going to write my plays and cast them myself.
After the Carnival Faces painting on slate, I wanted to do something different with the art, and I started gluing things on mannequins and
oh, like my girl right here?
Yeah. I always have picked up things, shiny objects off the street, and not carrying junk jewelry and all that kind of stuff, and I'd had all this stuff, and what are you going to do? Well, let's start gluing it on. I got some E6000 glue, which I learned to do from putting sequins on a mask.
E6000 is dope,
It's the
man.
best.
I have some next door right now. It's a good glue right there.
I did my first mannequin. It was a bust, a woman, and it's still a work in progress because there's so many places to fill with little things. And you may have your own little venues on this thing, and all of a sudden these mannequins just started popping up.
Yeah.
And now I've got a slew of mannequins I need to bling out.
Your little army of mannequins.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I've
I
done
obviously am a mannequin
bicycles.
fan.
I've done birdhouses now,
Oh, cool.
and mannequins, and
Hell yeah. Okay, Levy, I ask everybody the same last question. This podcast is just me talking to people, like I said, that I think are cool or doing cool things. People that I think are interesting. Maybe somebody that doesn't otherwise have the light shined on them in this city. Who, when I say those things to you, do you think of that I should talk to? And you can take a minute to think about it. We can edit it. Because I know it's a hard question.
There's two people. The first would be Ben Zeitlin.
Oh, tell me about Ben Zeitlin. I don't know that guy. Ben Zeitlin's he's one of my best friends.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. He probably doesn't think so, but he's genius. Him and his sister Eliza are just both so beautiful. Their creativity just shines, and I don't want to say they take it seriously, but it's like anything. You come to this city and you want to do something, you're serious about it, but not in a serious way, but in a happy way.
Yeah.
It's more happy than it is serious. You're
yeah.
happy to do it, and you do it, and it blossoms, and people take notice.
Yeah.
And it's just,
I love
just
that
keep
you
on,
said him.
keep doing it.
I love that you said him because obviously he's one of my dearest buds,
Yeah.
and I agree. I mean, all I do is heckle him. I give him so much hell, but that's just my job,
Yeah.
But I agree. I think he's a genius. I think he's so creative and he's so smart, and I think that's why I was always really attracted to him.
And he loves me. I
he
love
loves
him.
you so much. Yes.
And I just gotta stop. The other person
Are you getting emotional?
Is an artist. Yeah, I think it's fine arts. We're all fine artists in a way.
Yeah.
But this isn't like painting on canvas. It would be Amzie Adams.
Oh, I want to talk to Amzie. I ran into him the other day on the street, and I was like, "Can I interview you on my podcast?"
Always run into him on the street.
Yeah, that's. I mean, he's always on the street somewhere.
I know where he lives. But
Yeah, me too, actually. But he gave me his card, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna hit him up. I sold his art a couple of nights on Frenchman for a while.
I got it published in an art show that he did. It's all Amzie all the time.
Yeah.
And he had all these different artists do their own interpretation of him.
I think I remember this. Yes.
And then he put out a book of that. And I was on the third page. There's mine. And it was done on slate. I found this piece of slate, and it's like with clouds. You see things in clouds. I see stuff in the slate, and the shape of it was just his head and his top hat.
Yeah.
And it was a big, long top hat.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. It turned out perfect.
I love that you just gave me suggestions of two people that I want on this podcast. Nobody's
Good.
done that yet.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's people that I definitely would love to have on at some point. So we're on the same exact wavelength.
Yes, and we help each other.
Well, hell yeah. I am so grateful that you came and did Planet NOLA today. You're the best.
Me too.
This has
Thank you.
been so good. Y'all, I'm Mary Jacobs. This is my buddy Levy Easterly. We've been talking about New Orleans. If you liked this episode, I would love if you shared it with someone that you love. Follow us on Instagram. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. And if you leave us a review, I will mail you a holographic Planet NOLA sticker.
It was real and surreal.
It was real and surreal. Thank y'all so much for listening. Be in touch.